Urgent, is the Pope dying? Nostradamus has predicted this moment for centuries, and now everything is being fulfilled before our eyes. Signs in heaven, forgotten prophecies, and dark secrets within the Vatican indicate that we are about to witness a historical event. But what if this is not just the death of a pope, but the beginning of the end? What is the Vatican hiding? Tighten play before this truth is silenced. For centuries, Nostradamus' prophecies haunted those who dared to study them. His words, written in enigmatic courts, predicted events of destruction, fall of empires, and even the rise of controversial leaders. But one of its most terrifying predictions is becoming increasingly relevant: the death of a pope in times of chaos. In his book Les Prophéties, published in 1555, Nostradamus left a series of predictions that seem to point to the present day. Among them, there is a court that talks about the death of a pontiff and a great seizure within the Catholic Church. At the end of the big headquarters, one will be elected, but will soon perish. The throne will be taken by a successor, and the people will fall into tears. For scholars, this phrase not only suggests the imminent death of a pope, but also implies a period of turbulence within the Vatican. Some believe Nostradamus has foresaw the resignation of Benedict XVI and the arrival of Pope Francis, and now his prophecy may be fulfilling himself once again. History shows that many of its predictions have come true. Nostradamus would have anticipated the rise of Adolf Hitler, the September 11th attacks, and even the recent pandemic. What makes everything even more frightening is that his prophecies about the Vatican coincide with the prophecies of Saint Malachi, another seer who, in the 12th century, listed all the popes until the end of time. According to him, Pope Francis would be the last before the apocalypse. If Nostradamus is right, the world is about to witness the death of a religious leader and an unprecedented crisis within the church. But is this just another misinterpretation of their prophecies? Or are we really on the brink of a catastrophic event? Each day, new signs seem to reinforce this theory, and the most recent evidence come directly from the Vatican itself. In the silent corridors of the Vatican, is there a secret that few dare to speak openly? Is Pope Francis dying? In recent years, the health of the pontiff has been a theme of speculation and concern. At 87, Francisco has undergone several surgeries, including a delicate colon procedure and a hernia operation that required general anesthesia. Their public appearances have become less frequent, and when it comes, it is visibly more fragile, often supported by a wheelchair or breathing difficulties. But what really draws attention is not just the physical signs of aging, but the Vatican's silence on the subject. Unlike other moments in history when the Church released updates on the health of the pontiffs, this time, there is a mist of mystery hanging over the real condition of the Pope. Recently, alarming reports arose that Francisco was dealing with severe heart problems and recurring respiratory complications. Some say doctors close to the Pope have warned that their state is irreversible and that their death may be closer to what you think. In addition, there is a detail that makes everything even darker. The Pope has already indicated several times that he could resign in office, as well as his predecessor, Benedict XVI. But there is a problem. Benedict resigned and died shortly thereafter. Is the story about to repeat itself? The Vatican, known for keeping his secrets to 7 keys, does not confirm, but does not deny either. Doubt grows every day. After all, if the Pope is really on the brink of death, what does this mean to the future of the Catholic Church? The signs of the end may be increasingly clear, and some of them do not only come from the fragility of the pontiff, but from events that are happening in the skies. If there is something that follows great changes in the history of humanity, they are the signs in heaven. From biblical times, eclipses, comets, and solar storms have been interpreted as catastrophic events. And now, amid the growing suspicions about the end of Pope Francis, a frightening phenomenon caught the attention of the world: the red moon. Recently, a lunar eclipse has transformed the moon into a blood tone, a rare event that many cultures associate with the end of eras and the arrival of turbulent times. In the Bible, this sign is described in several passages, including in the book of Joel. The sun will become darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. Joel 2:31. For many scholars of prophecy, this is not any event. The combination of political instability, wars, and signs in the sky indicates that we are on the verge of something grand. But the red moon was not the only strange phenomenon recently observed. In recent months, sightings of unknown comets, record storms of record intensity, and magnetic anomalies have been recorded by scientists. NASA itself warned of a possible collapse in the Earth's magnetosphere, something that could directly impact global communications and even cause mass blacks. But what all this has to do with the Pope's possible death? For Nostradamus scholars and our Malachi, these events may be the confirmation that we are living the last days of the current Pope's reign. Prophecies speak of a great transformation within the Catholic Church before the arrival of a dark period. With the health of the debilitated pontiff and apocalyptic signs emerging in heaven, some believe that we are facing the fulfillment of this forecast. The big question now is, if prophecy is fulfilling itself, what will happen to the Pope before his death? Will he leave the Vatican before the end? And that is exactly what Nostradamus also predicted. Among the numerous predictions of Nostradamus, one of the most unstressing talks about a pope who will abandon Rome in a hurry before his death. According to his enigmatic courts, the leader of the Vatican Church would run away from a great threat. The great pastor will be displaced, for a distant land will run away when the holy city is on fire and the enemies march in their gate. But where would this threat come from? And why could Pope Francis, already so weak, be forced to flee? In recent years, the Catholic Church has faced unprecedented internal crises. Financial scandals, divisions between cardinal and direct attacks on the pontiff have become increasingly frequent. Francisco has been a controversial pope, challenging traditions and generating discontent between more conservative sectors of the Church. Some experts believe he has already lost backstage control of the Vatican and that his position may be at risk. In addition, there is an even more disturbing aspect: external threats. Recently, the Pope himself stated that the world is on the brink of a third world war, with conflicts intensifying between great powers. It is rumored that Catholic leaders worldwide already discuss a possible evacuation plan for the pontiff if their safety is compromised. What if Nostradamus was right? If the renunciation is not a choice, but a forced escape? The Church has lived something similar before. In 1798, Pope Pius VI was captured by revolutionary forces and died in exile. Now the story may be about to repeat itself. If Francis is really forced to leave the Vatican, it would confirm one of the biggest fears of prophecy scholars: the beginning of chaos within the Catholic Church and the arrival of the dreaded last Pope. But if there is something that makes this theory even more sinister, that's what comes next. Since medieval times, there is a prophecy that talks about the last pope before the end of time. Within the Vatican walls, there are secrets that have never been revealed to the public. Hidden documents, forgotten prophecies, and a struggle for power that happens away from the eyes of the world. But among all the theories and mysteries surrounding the Catholic Church, one of the most terrifying is the prophecy of Saint Malachi, the list of popes that would govern until the end of time. According to this prophecy, written in the 12th century, each pope was described with an enigmatic motto. Benedict XVI was identified as the penultimate pope, and Francis would be the last. The title attributed to him in prophecy is Peter Roman, and the description states that under his pontificate, the Church would face its greatest trial and the city of Rome would be destroyed. But what does that really mean? Many believe that the end of Francisco's papacy will not only be a common transition of power, but an event that will change the course of Church history forever. And there is evidence that the Vatican is already preparing behind the scenes for this inevitable change. In recent months, internal sources claim that there is a silent war happening within the Vatican. On the one hand, conservative cardinals who believe that Francis has weakened the tradition of the Church and needs to be urgently replaced. On the other, one progressive wing who wants an even more radical reform. The Pope would be in the midst of this crossfire, and his weakened health would only accelerate collapse. But there is something even darker in this prophecy. If Francis' death is really close, who will come after him? According to the interpretation of scholars, Francis' successor will be the Pope, who will rule during the end of time. Some believe that he may be a corrupt leader who will bring the final ruin to the church, or even the figure prophesied as the false prophet of the apocalypse. If Nostradamus and our Malachi are correct, then we are facing the beginning of an age of chaos not only for the church, but to the whole world. But what happens if the Pope dies? How will the Vatican deal with this crucial moment? And, more importantly, the world is prepared for what comes next. The death of a pope has always been a remarkable event in the history of humanity. But Pope Francis's possible death can mean something much greater than just the exchange of a religious leader. If Nostradamus's prophecies and our Malachi are right, this may be the end of an era to the Catholic Church, and perhaps the beginning of something much darker. But what happens exactly when a pope dies? The Vatican follows a strict protocol. As soon as the pontiff's death is confirmed, Camerlengo, one of the church's most important cardinals, has the mission of officially announce the death. The traditional verification ritual is performed, where the Camerlengo beats lightly 3 times on the Pope's forehead with a small silver hammer, calling him by his baptism name. If there is no answer, death is confirmed. The body is then embalmed and exposed so that faithful from all over the world can pay their honors. During this period, the Vatican enters official mourning, and preparations for the choice of the new pope immediately start. But what if this time is different? If Francis is really the last pope of the prophecy, what will happen when he is? Will the church collapse? Will a new leader take the throne just to see Rome fall into destruction, as the predictions say? There is a real fear that your death trigger an unprecedented period of crisis. Cardinals vying for power, schisms within the church, and an unstable global scenario can turn papal succession into true chaos. Also, you cannot ignore the increasingly strange signs that surround this possible moment. Signs in heaven, instability within the Vatican, and the growing fear that a dark leader can take command of the church make many believe that Nostradamus' prophecy and our Malachi is about to be fulfilled before our eyes. If the Pope dies in the coming months, will the world be facing a crossroads? Will a new leader emerge to restore faith or witness the definitive fall of the Catholic Church? The clock is running. The signs are everywhere. Are we ready for what comes next?